Alright, y'all, so on the left I'm going to use the Benefit brow pencil, and on the right I'm going to use the ABH dip pomade. Okay, so the first step is the most important step. You want to make sure that you always brush your brows before you apply any product to your eyebrows. And you'll brush it going upwards or according to your arch, if that makes sense. But please, if you have long eyebrows, curly eyebrows, nappy eyebrows, please make sure that you brush your brows. Okay, so now you're just gonna outline your actual eyebrow. You will not go anywhere lower than that because then it's gonna look too thick. You want it to look as natural as possible. Also, ladies, you want to make sure that you always start at the middle or the end of your brow, never at the beginning. If you know that you're heavy-handed, please do not draw on your eyebrows as if you're writing on a piece of paper because it's going to be dark and it's not going to look natural. When it comes to your arch, you want to make sure that if you already have an arch, you want to outline it. Or if you have to create one, just make sure that it looks as natural as possible. Ladies, please do not create an arch that looks like it's touching your temple. It does not look good. It looks a mess. You don't want to be out here looking crazy. Just make sure it looks natural. You don't have to do all of that, dramatic stuff. While outlining, you also have to remember that you have to fill in the middle of your eyebrows as well. And like I said, make sure you're doing it lightly. That way it looks natural as possible. When it comes to the front of your brow, make sure you're creating a line that looks natural and you're outlining your actual eyebrow. You do not have to create a line that's super long and is touching the middle of your forehead. You don't have to do that. But to each his own. If that's what you like, cool. But if you want your eyebrows to look natural, you don't have to create a long line and you don't have to make it dark. Almost forgot, y'all. So when you're filling in your brows at the front, you always want to draw going upwards. That way, again, it'll look natural and it won't look boxy. After you've done that, any areas that you miss, you can just go ahead and fill it in. Make sure, like I said, you do not, keep going over it, because if you do, it's going to look patchy and dark. So now you want to clean up your brows with a concealer. I use the Juvia's Place concealer in the shade 12. You'll also be using a flat brush. Per your preference, you don't have to. Or you can use a concealer brush, which is more rounded. I prefer the flat brush because it's very thin and it actually gets in the areas that a concealer brush can't. And it really makes it makes your eyebrows have like that sharp look. I don't know, it's something about a flat brush that works so much better than a concealer brush. Clearly, as y'all can see by now, eyebrows is very tedious and it's too detailed. So when it comes to cleaning up your brows with the concealer, if you are a beginner, you want to make sure that you always start at the middle of your brow. I say this because you have a lot of concealer on your brush. So if you start at the beginning, you're going to end up erasing away the product. Whether you use the dip pomade or whether you use the pencil, you're going to end up erasing it away and you're going to have to start all over again. As for the top brow, you don't have to use as much product as you use for the bottom. You can just do it lightly. Some people don't conceal their top brow, but I do because I like to clean it up. I don't want my eyebrows to look uneven, but it's your preference. If you feel as though you don't need to conceal the top of your brow, you don't have to. Now, as you can see, I did mess up the tail of my brow. A lot of people do that, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. After you finish concealing your brows, all you have to do is just go back in with your product and just fix the tail of your brow. When blending in the concealer, you always want to use a fluffy brush, or you can use a beauty sponge. It's your preferences. Whichever works for you, whatever floats your boat. If you're more comfortable with a brush, you blend it out with a brush, or if you want to use a sponge, you use a sponge. It's whatever you want to do. Now, after I blended out my concealer, I did go back in and fix the tail of my brow. So y'all, for this side, I'm going to go in with the Dip Pomade by ABH. I did forget to show y'all the type of brush that I use, but it's just a regular angled eyebrow brush. It's nothing special. Sis, I'm doing a lot of brushing because the lady that did my brows messed them up so bad. Like, they are so uneven and they look a mess. So I really struggled on my brows for this video, y'all. I really did. So even though you're using a brush for this brow, the same rules apply. So everything that you've done with the other brow, you're going to do the same for this brow. Again, you want to make sure you start at the middle of your brow. Since you're using the dip pomade, you don't have to keep dipping into the gel. You don't have to keep doing that because your eyebrows are going to look dark. So keep the same product that you have on your brush. Now, if you do run out, okay, you go ahead and dip your your brush back in, but don't put too much product on there because the front of your eyebrows are gonna look crazy. So whatever product you have left on your brush, you'll use that to outline the front of your eyebrow.
Choose your fighter. Lightning inspired. Fight.
Now, if you messed up a little too much, what you want to do is just go in with a makeup wipe and wipe it away. Because if you try to go over it with the concealer, you will be able to see it. Now this part is optional, but after I blend out the concealer with my brush, I do go in with the Beauty Blender to even everything out, because you do have to keep in mind that you still have to put on foundation, and I don't want my forehead to be looking cakey. So after all the blending, I'm going to go in with the Mellow Brow Gel. I always do this extra step because I like to make sure that my eyebrow hairs are kept in place and that they don't start shifting or going anywhere. This is optional. You don't have to do this, but this is just my preference. Okay ladies, so this is the end results. Let me know in the comments below if you tried my method and how it worked out for you. Give your girl a thumbs up. Again, I did use the Benefit Brow Pencil on the left, and on the right I used the ABH Dip Pomade. Ladies, you don't have to use name brand products. You can use drugstore and it's going to work pretty much the same. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all in my next video.